Here we go. Here we go. Y'all ready?
Let's get it.
Yep. I got to be honest. I look forward to this every Thursday night, 9
Same.
o'clock. It's exciting. The reality, though, I've really been looking forward to this one. And I don't know if y'all have or not, but this is a good topic. You ready for this one, Eric?
I'm ready, brother. Let's do
All
it.
right,
Let's do it.
topic for tonight. Let's just jump right in. Topic for tonight. Let me give it to y'all. Parenting in the digital age. Parenting in the digital age. All right, we're going to talk about managing screen time. We're talking about online safety, but really, I'm going to play devil's advocate during the whole time of this podcast because I think, if I'm being honest with y'all, this is one of the, as a counselor, when I spend a lot of time talking to parents, this topic right here is the number one most confusing, most frustrating, topic that parents go through. And so let's just go around and what's your take on social media for your kids, right? And let's just give me your true, opinion on it. So Devo, you start.
Wow. All right. I'm probably a little adverse to
Shotgun.
this. What's up?
I just said he got shotgunned.
Yeah. I think a
Man.
wink, wink or something.
Yeah.
So no, I'm probably a little adverse to this topic. One, just spending over 2 decades in education and seeing just a whole lot of mess and having to deal with a whole lot of mess because of technology. I always veer against it. Um, so that's my short answer. My little bit longer answer is I think it's extremely important for a parent to know their child and know what their child is capable of handling. Because I promise you, once you give them any type of technological device, the training wheels come off. And where we used to learn in the locker room, they learn from that screen time. I guarantee you, there's going to be somebody who either rides the bus, somebody in the cafeteria, somebody who's walking in the class, someone who's hanging out in the bathroom. If they're not vaping, they're probably on their phone searching some type of material. So I feel very strongly towards this, but that's going to be my short answer right now. I will hear some other opinions.
Yeah. Josh.
Man, I think it's all going to be dependent on the kid. I mean, I have a son and a daughter, and I think based on maturity, I've got my daughter that has, certain apps because she's older and may or may not have gotten them too early, and I have my son who just has, he's 14 and just has Snapchat to kind of communicate with, his friends, but, teams and that sort of thing. But I'm with Devo, like short answers like, hey, no, you're not ready for that. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know how to do that. But the flip side of that, and I think Matt, you and I've talked about it before, is, and what Devo said is, if we don't teach them or show them or walk through it with them, somebody else is, regardless of what that is. So I think they have to, it's kind of like what we did, try to earn that. I mean, what is it that we need to earn? Is it, chores? Is it our grades? Is it whatever it is? And we have to be on top of that. If something happens, then that needs to be taken away. I think parents get so, and I've talked to them in, my personal life too, with, work or friends. And like, I can't take my kid's phone away from them because how am I going to get in touch with them? I'm like, what did we do? Like, we didn't have phones to take away. We had we got punished other ways. So I think it's become a crutch. I also think it's that both sides. I know, Matt, you're going to hit that too. It's both sides. It's good for safety, but it's also like you should earn that. It's not should be given to you. So I'm kind of with Devo on both of them. I think each kid is different. Obviously we all know, or people listen, you guys know, like I do social media, and I think that's the complaint, right? Is, well, Dad, you could do it, or so-and-so does it, or so-and-so's kids do it. Like, well, I'm not so-and-so's parents. And then I revert back and I'm like, crap, my mom and dad used to say that to me too. So I just think it's they got to have both sides of it, I think.
Yeah. Doc.
I hate it. I absolutely hate it. However, I had this. I had to think on it really hard because I had to take the emotion out of it. I had to realize it just
Why?
because I hate it. Why?
And I'm messing with
Because, well, I mean, you're actually going right into it. Is the reason why we've let them have the phones and the social media accounts.
Right.
We limit them, but the thing is the bullying is so prevalent nowadays, and I didn't want them to be the weirdo kids that their parents wouldn't allow them to do anything, right? Not be the only ones that didn't have it. Um, so I had to swallow my pride a little bit. Now we restricted heavily, but I went against my better judgment and well, actually, I guess I did. I let my better judgment come through. But bottom line is, I don't like it. I didn't want them to have it, but the realization is they will be ostracized if they're not associated with it in some way.
Yeah, Eric, I waited for you last. I mean, because you got the you got the young ones, right? And so I went
Yeah.
with, all of us have older kids, and so I waited for you to talk about it last because you're just entering it in the phase, and it's tough. I like this topic so much because it's so tough. That's really why there's no right or wrong answers on this, right? It's tough to deal with. So let's hear your thoughts.
Yeah, so in 1999, I was in the parking lot of Kingston Pike at one of the shopping malls in Knoxville, Tennessee, and I was walking into the Verizon store to buy my first cell phone. I was 24 years old, first time I ever had a cell phone, and I felt like I was a cool person. I was growing up and becoming a man because my parents restricted me from all of that stuff. It was church, work, school, in that order. And so I am a product of my environment, my parents, and some of the things they didn't let me have, and I incorporate that into some of the things that my kids have to endure because of it. And I laughed at you, Matt. I told you, I said, this is the one where we will be fighting tonight because I'm adamantly opposed to it. Now, I won't give it all in the opening, but I will tell you a story that's kind of full circle that just happened last night, where my wife was in Raleigh at a conference, or workshop conference, something like that, and there was a college student who had kind of decoded Roblox and figured out a way to kind of create some new algorithms. You haven't played Roblox for years. And this kid is in college and is a millionaire, has a staff, and because of his. So I'll come back to that because it kind of makes sense to where I am starting to let the boys play a little bit, stuff like that. But I'm just against it because once you let the train out of the station for things that they can get exposed to, you can't erase that. That imprint is there. And I don't know how much in the gutter we'll talk about things, but I remember the first time I saw things that, if my mom and dad knew I saw, you can't walk it back. I was too young to see it.
I don't know what we're talking about.
All right. So let me give you a couple facts, right? From a Pew study, 95% of all teens have access to a cell phone, right? So there's just a thing. So that plays both ways. That cuts both ways. And the reason why it cuts both ways, it goes back to what Josh was saying. If your child is one of the 5%, then over 40% of kids get bullied, cyberbullied, right? So that's another Pew study. So it cuts both ways because, remember back in the day when we used to sit in class and we'd write that girl a note, we'd fold it up like a little paper football and we'd hand it to her as she's walking out. And then you go to the next class and you get the same thing. What you have to understand, or what you have to take into account, is this is their paper football. This is their note that they're handling. It is their norm. And if you keep, and this is why and I'm not saying there's no right or wrong, trust me on this, but if you're keeping them out of the norm, this is the norm of today and the norm of society. This is how they communicate. So we may think that we are protecting them, but are we protecting them? Could it lead to that bullying? Because they're the last ones to get a phone because you're too poor, you can't afford it. We know that's not reality maybe, but is it reality? But you don't have a phone because you can't afford one. You don't have a phone because, your family. So it cuts, again, I'm saying it cuts both ways. It cuts both ways. But at what point, and we're going to talk through all of this, but at what point do you say, okay, This is how they communicate. Am I going to let them communicate? And so I think, and this is what I'm getting at. I think it's important that we as parents understand that it's how they communicate. And I think it's important that if we're going to let them go into that realm, you got to manage it, and you got to come up with tools to manage. You got to come up with ways to manage, because they're pretty smart, Eric, and they'll find ways to look at that stuff that you don't want them to look at. You know.
Well, I'm gonna push back a little bit, because I got a poster in one of the rooms in the house that says, "In a world full of copycats, dare to be different." And there's a bunch of little spotted kittens in there, but there's one Dalmatian, and if you don't look hard enough, you won't see it. And so I think in the 5%, depending on how you nurture that, and I think you might have remembered last week I had said, because we have a 10 and a 7-year-old, we're still in that molding phase. And so as the potter with the clay, we still have responsibility as a parent to mold some of that stuff and to say that this is not the right time. It's not to say that we would never engage or allow them to do it, but it's not the right time. And I wouldn't be moved, nor would my wife be moved by stats or even other parents or even kids that come over to our house and say, "Why don't you have a phone? Why don't you have a such and such?" Because what happens in our house is a matter of timing. Because I do believe that when they're ready and they earn the responsibility to do those things, they'll grow to the 6% and get closer to it. You see what I'm saying? So I think the study, I think what you're saying is valid, but I think for parents, especially ones who are younger, you can't stop that responsibility you have of molding your kids because of the pressure you feel from either other parents.
Let's talk about this. Because you still, how old are your kids? How old are your boys?
10 and 7.
All right. Yeah. That's young. That's too young. I'm in agreement with that. Right. So let's talk about this. Like what's the proper age? What is the proper age when you are going to, if they're showing responsibility, you are going to allow them, or you would think about them getting, because I'm in agreement.
24. I told you I was in.
Man, we ain't talking about carrying around a bag phone.
I was right there with you, E. I was gonna say 21, so you can get that pic when you at that store with the alphabets on it or whatever.
Yeah. Hey, look, true story. I did not get a phone. I got y'all beat. I did not get a phone until 2003 timeframe. It was after I was done deploying and I went down to flight school as a flight school instructor. And that was the first time I got a phone. Never had a phone, never had a reason to have a phone. I was doing my thing. I was deploying. I was going. I didn't need a phone. My wife needed to reach me. She called a squadron and asked for me.
Did you write letters? I bet your penmanship was good. Did you write
my penmanship was good. My penmanship was good. But
would you like to dance with me? Yes or no?
Yeah. I'll answer your question.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about
it. I don't think there is a proper age. It has. You have to judge it individually on the maturity level of your child.
Yep.
Yeah. True.
So
I agree.
There's no blanket age to say, all right, magically poof, now you got a phone.
Yeah. Well, I think it depends on the parents too, like the kids. Sorry, Devo, but like the kids, how the kids are. But then you have their friends. So you have, like Eric was saying, you have some influence on. Well, hey, so and so got a phone. Like, okay, well, they're more mature than you, or less mature than you, or whatever. I mean, somebody just said in the chat when they're going into 8th grade, like my kids' friends, they were getting them. You know, you're like, hey, you graduate 5th grade. Now you got a graduation for every year. All our teachers in the building, kindergarten, 5th grade, 8th grade, 12th grade. But going into 5th grade, like my kids, I think both my kids got it from their mom. Christmas of 3rd grade. So, oh yeah. So yeah,
my soul.
Right. Hey, listen. When they came over for Christmas, I was like,
I know, right?
What? Like who are you calling? You don't even text me back. Like and I'm with you, Matt. Like I didn't get a phone till I was 02, but I was working at the cell phone company then. Or maybe I got it in 01. But out of high school, like the little yellow Nokia phone. Like that's what but I think, like Doc said, I think it's going to be based on the kid, based on the maturity level, because they literally have it's a computer. It's more, it's everything at their fingertips. And then I do like it. I'll say this, I'll let Timo go. So my son is always like, Dad, we're sports. Like we talk sports. Like, Dad, who do they get drafted by? Who do they get, all that stuff. Well, I'm like, bro, you got the computer sitting in your lap. Like, why are you asking me the question? I feel like you're trying to make me look stupid because you're asking me the question I feel like you know the answer to. So when I say no, I don't know, you could go, oh yeah, it was so-and-so. But I'm like, you don't know either. Like, grab your phone. But that's how we've been trained and we're doing things. And they just maturity level though. It's like,
Yeah.
Go ahead, Debo. My thought.
No, I think your words were spot on. And my thing that gets me a lot of times, I think parents get kids phones for parents. Like, it's not really for the child.
Yeah.
Like, it's so you can sit your butt in the backseat of that car and shut your mouth while I decompress or while I go home.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's not for the child. And like, what's the appropriate age? I agree with y'all again. I don't know what the appropriate age is, but I stand wholeheartedly. Like, I've seen so much stuff. Well, excuse me, state of North Carolina, you're not allowed to look at it. So I heard
had heard what had happened was.
I wouldn't have known that.
was-
I wouldn't have known that.
she was in her bare birthday suit and it was floating around the school. So like, you just like, these kids ain't ready. Like,
Yeah.
they ain't ready. And even if you think your child is mature and can handle it, like, it's kind of like us when we had to make the decision to take that first drink. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's gonna be peer pressure abound. Like, there's been peer pressure since Adam. You know, Adams was getting picked on because he had some corns on his feet. You know what I'm saying? So regardless of what the situation is, I don't think your child. What's that?
That's wrong fruit.
Okay.
Wrong fruit.
Stay away from
I thought it was apple.
Yeah.
We talking about corn?
He's got the New Living Testament.
Well, Adam, I said, I was just
That was
trying to
in
give him a different-
Leviticus, Josh.
Yeah.
Not in Genesis.
You
Leviticus.
should have had an orange instead of an
but,
apple.
but no, seriously. Like, I feel like, and you're right, it is so touchy because like my nephew got a phone for Christmas, and my youngest, who's 11, and let me kind of back up. So my nephew is going into 6th grade. He's a middle school. He's going into 6th grade. His parents got him a phone for whatever reason. You know, no judgment here. However, they got him a phone, and you know that works for their family. And so like every other day, my youngest has been asking my wife, "Hey, can I get a phone? Hey, can I get a phone? Hey, can I get a phone?" And it's not her. Like, she is just Lily.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't worry about my child, but it's them other mofos in that classroom. Those are ones you need to worry about.
Them
And
predator
those are the ones who
boys.
start with the influence.
Yeah.
and the thing-
So I'll
and the
give you
thing-
a quick. Go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
was just saying, like, the thing that I love hearing about y'all because you have older children, but for me, it's funny. I don't pick on my oldest. So I came home the other day, and Aaron's like, "Did you see Ethan's jacket?" I was like, "No." And I just usually put it in his book bag, but she said it's not in there. And I was like, "Well, so that's number 2. What are you doing?" She's walking upstairs to get the other jacket. So he's already lost one. He didn't bring home the second one. She's going to get a third jacket. I'm like, "Wait, no. He's going to go to school with what he has on his back, no jacket, until he brings that other one home." So we're talking about phones. I'm like, man, I can't even get my kid to bring his jacket home.
Oh, he won't lose the phone. He won't
He'll lose the
phone.
phone.
Guaranteed he
Right,
won't.
he won't lose the
Like,
phone.
come on.
Yeah. But
Bring
look,
the
so
jacket home
and-
first. And then we can
yeah. And our
That's
family,
like third grade for my kids. I'm like, y'all don't I gotta tell you to brush your teeth. You got a $1,000 phone you walking around with, like, what am I supposed to do with this? I don't know.
Well,
I wouldn't know what to do with it.
we go back in our day, like Braden and Megan got a phone in like 8th grade. And what ended up happening, I was traveling a ton. And so Tisha would pick up the kids, and then she'd take Megan to dance. She'd pick Megan up from dance, take Megan to soccer. And then Lainey would be at soccer when she was taking Megan back to dance. And so she would go, it would be back and forth, right? Back and forth. And that's when Lainey would be at practice. And then Tish would be coming back to get Lainey from practice. And so Lainey's in 6th grade at this time, and there's a big accident on 40, right? So what led to Lainey getting the phone so early is that Here Lainey is, and Tisha's an hour late getting her. And she has no way. I'm traveling, no way to get in touch with anybody, right? And so you have your your sixth grade daughter standing there at soccer practice, And granted, it was that thousands of people out there practicing soccer, but she had no idea where her mom was.
Right.
No way to know. So why wouldn't you get her a phone so you could contact her for something safety wise? And that's what led to that. But she had a lot of rules. So let's transition over to the rules side of the house. If you do get your kid a phone, like what rules do you put in place? How are you going to handle it? Now, I'll give you a quick story on it and all that, because we sat down at the dinner table one time, and this was the difference. You had Braden, who was in high school. You had Megan, maybe in high school at the time. Lainey, who was in 7th, 8th grade. We'd make them set their phone up on this little cabinet area when we'd eat dinner. And you just hear, you'd hear this. This is what you would hear. Right? And so
can you do that one more time, please?
It's kind of funny. Yeah, you got that's exciting. But what was funny? What was funny is that we had them all getting their phones, and when it came to I don't remember if it was DMs or if it was Snapchats. Brayden had 3, Megan had 8, Lainey had 60. 60. And she truly said, she was like, this is exhausting. And the reason why she said it's exhausting, because here's what happens. Here's what happens at that age, right? What happens at that age is I send, well, we'll talk about me and Josh. I send Josh a Snapchat, right? Or I send, and he leaves
all day long.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. We
Why
snap
am I not
other.
surprised?
Not even a little.
Yeah, I don't have no Snapchat. But the point is that I said, that's the way they communicate. But if I send Josh a message and he doesn't respond to me, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? Especially if let's change it. I send a girl a Snapchat. She sends me back a Snapchat. And then she sends me one back, and I leave her on open. Right? Y'all know what leaving?
You're not interested now. Now you're not interested.
Leaving somebody's on open means I looked at it and I didn't respond to you.
Right. That's
so. What's that girl thinking, man? What's that girl thinking?
Disrespectful.
Yeah.
Now you don't like her.
Oh, you don't like.
That's how they communicate.
That's how
the
they communicate.
rule in our house was blame me for everything. Your daddy is bad.
That's so funny, because that is the rule in my house. Yeah, it's
blame me for everything. Yeah, my dad texts my phone.
Yeah, that's it. It is blame me for everything. But it's funny because you'll see them go like this. You'll be talking like your kids, and they get a little older and they're doing it, and they'll go like this if they're talking to you, and they're literally would just go like, I'm holding this up so y'all can see, but they'll take a picture of the ceiling. Like, what the hell are you doing taking a picture of the ceiling fan?
It's the weirdest app. Like Hudson will do it on the way to school. I'm like, why are you taking a picture of the dash? And he's like, yeah, I'm just responding. I'm like,
that's it. That's what it is. And it's important to understand this, because when they take a picture of the ceiling fan or take a picture of the ceiling, they're responding to that person basically saying, hey, I acknowledge I got it, but I can't talk right now. I'm talking to my dad, or I'm talking to my mom. It's the most bizarre thing that you've ever seen. But here's the point. You got to understand this as a parent. You got to dive in. I'm trying to get my daughter, Lainey, to do a class on this, because as a parent, we don't understand it. We don't have a clue that this is their form of walking in the hall and handing each other that paper football.
Hell, I thought Snapchat was a venereal disease.
Stop them, Lord.
That's the third time. We getting close. I've been keeping track. That's the third one. We getting close to getting off the podcast.
Hey,
yeah, so what rules,
for the record, I was cleared hot to misbehave tonight. I just want to put that out
cleared.
there.
He was cleared earlier. We're letting the restraint up a little bit.
Hey, well, Matt, to your thing, I'll admit to the group. All right, so there's the Gab watch. That's as far as I can get with mine. So he has a Gab watch, the 10-year-old, and so we can pre-program phone numbers that he can have in there. And the rule is I've got the little geo tracker on there. So the map, there's 3 zones that I know, homeschool, and then there's another spot that if he's inside those zones, I don't even worry about it. I don't text. I don't whatever, he may shoot me a little message or whatnot. But I'm just looking at the zones, because the rule is, if you're out of those zones, we're gonna have a problem. Especially
sure.
when
I think that's great.
drive to get to where I need to be, and mom might have to drive to where she needs to be to get to you, whatever. So really, it's a matter. The rules are just in terms of the functionality of the gab. Just put those zones on there and let them be responsible to stay inside those zones, because it's going to be a wrap. And take the watch, and you don't have that privilege any longer.
But see, I like that because you're teaching them responsibility early.
Yeah.
Right.
I like that.
They have to show it. Right.
But it's pretty cool watching that stuff, because then you got to think, man, my kid going to be a smart A and put it on a dog.
And put the dog on the leash.
Dad, I was trying to get my steps in. You were trying to do something so I couldn't see where you at.
I got to worry about that. I'm like, where's that zone? I don't know what
What rules, though, Devo? What rules did you put in place?
Wow. The rules that worked or the rules that didn't work? Like, which one are you
Both.
talking about?
Both. I think it's both. I think it's relevant to talk about both.
Yeah, so I'm sitting here kind of contemplating, because this is the one issue where I'm just befuddled. Like, I really don't know what the right answer is. And on one of my kids, well, no, I won't even say that. Like, I don't know. I just don't know. So one of our rules was at 9:00, it goes in a centralized location where we all put our phones and we charge them out in public for the night. Another rule is we all had each other's code for the phone where we could go in at any time and look at them. So those are pretty much the rules that we had. But these youngins, these baby kids are so smart where they will, like, they hide apps within apps, and like, you don't know what they have. Like, they tell you they have this app, but then they have another app. Or you have the friend at school who has 10 cell phones and he's selling them for $20 a piece. And so if your phone is taken for the week of April the 12th through the 25th, then they're going to give you another phone that you can use as your Snapchat. Or if you're on punishment, you don't have no phone access, then you're going to give someone else all your passwords so they can keep up your streaks. Like, they are so brilliant when it comes to working the system.
It's insane.
It's insane. And we will never have a grasp. We are always going to be 3 steps behind in this. And I say we as parents.
Yeah.
So I met this guy out of Asheville, Third Watch. John, I can't think of his last name, but hopefully I'll think of it before we get ready to get off. But he's phenomenal. And he was just like, you just have to have conversations and a lot of prayer. Like, because the kid's gonna ultimately get what feeds their soul, whether we allow it and not allow it, chastise them, punish them. He's like, actually, and so again, I've confessed to you guys, I tried to rule a lot of things with an iron fist, and and I don't think that's the answer either. I'll go ahead and fully admit. But again, it's having those conversations, telling them what's right or wrong, letting them use you as an excuse anytime they get in trouble.
Yeah.
And one rule that we would have, like, if you ever get caught up in a situation, my wife would be like, she'd say, well, we won't talk about it if you don't want to. And I say, I won't talk about it for 24 hours, but we gonna have a conversation.
Yeah.
So those are some of the rules that we tried to implement. Were they successful? Nah, probably not. But those are what we tried to do on the front end.
Yeah, I was say I did the same thing, putting them up at a central location, like before they went to bed. It didn't go to their room. It didn't go to their room until high school, till they kind of earned a little bit of that, and then it was like, hey, you can put it in your room, but like, let's put it over across from you. I don't want it like laid up beside you, because some of the kids are like, well, I sleep with my phone all night long. I'm like,
Right.
Is that why you yawning? Is that why you fall asleep during school? Because you're up on your phone all night long. Especially with Hudson now, I'm like, and he wants to sleep. Plus, he's an athlete and all that stuff. I'm like, dude, you got to put that thing away, because you hear it vibrate. You got it on your phone. You're going to sleep. You're not going to get to sleep. But we did a central location, just like Devo said. None at the table, none at the kitchen table.
Yeah.
Like we're eating dinner, nothing at the kitchen table. I mean, we still do that. Hudson knows now. Like if we're sitting eating on the couch and we're coffee table, or we sit at the table or the bar or whatever it is, and he's got the phone, I'm like, and he's like, my bad. Like
Yeah.
he knows, like that's been kind of for, since obviously third grade, but but
That you and him been eating at the bar.
yeah, we've been eating at the bar, not
Yeah,
like the
y'all
bar
sitting
at my
eating,
house,
eating
not
your
like
Cheerios at the bar.
hey, pass me that
Raise
beer.
him up.
Like, whatever. But I think those are big things that kind of just, and it's, they may not like it because their friends are like, well, they can have their phone on that long. And so he would go to bed at night and he'd set it out like on the bar in the kitchen. And, like Matt said, like, you just hear it vibrate. I'm going over to look. I get up the next morning and I'm like, all right, I'm going to go grab coffee or whatever. And it starts vibrating in the morning. I'm looking, it's like 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. These kids are snapping. I'm like, what the heck is going on? Like, where's your parents at?
Yeah.
Or why are you not asleep? And why are you snapping my son? Picture of the roof or the ceiling or whatever the heck it is. He ain't streaking you right now.
Yeah.
Only streak he got it is his draws. We not worried about Snapchat streaks.
Yeah. Hey, I do want to say real quick, Amy, we're going to get to that. That's a big topic coming up here that I'm going to hit on. But yeah, no, I agree. I'll tell you something before I keep passing it around. Yeah, Diva, I agree with you. Open, honest communication, right? And so here's the deal, right? One of the things you worry about when you have young ladies and your son as a kid is, look, I'm going to go ahead and be 100 with y'all. I'd have been begging for it, to see,
100%.
John, let's be honest. Let's go and be honest.
100%.
Yeah, back, but yeah,
To see
but that's
what?
wrong. That's wrong. I got a picture of that. But here's the point.
That will be
Is-
edited.
In my house, in my house, we didn't shy away from that topic. We hit that topic head on because, and Devo, you probably know this from being in the school system. You're gonna hear about it. Oh, so and so got busted for sending pics over here. So and so got busted for sending pics over here. And I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, if you were in my house and you were sending pics like that, you became an example of a conversation in my house. And the conversation became to my son and my daughter, but really to my daughters. Do you want to be that? Do you want to be known as that? Do you want it known that you're the one? Because it's not just the kids that know you did it. It's the parents sitting around talking about it because they know you did it, because it gets out that it's been done. And those are some of the things that, and that's a hard conversation to talk about because that's what none of us want, whether it be a boy, whether it be a girl. But those are the conversations that you have to take head on and be open and honest and not shy away from it, because you have to say, hey, if you're a boy, you don't want to do it. If you're a girl, you don't want to be that example. But if you're a girl, do you really think that young man loves you? And do you really think when y'all break up that he's going to keep those pictures to himself? Because that's what they would see. They would see that the boyfriend would keep those pictures or whatever to themselves until the breakup happened. And then they're sharing it with all their boys. And so it's a hard topic, but it's a topic that if your kids are going to have a fun, it's a scary topic, to be honest with you. It's horrible. But you got to be willing to have those hard conversations. You got to be willing, and I'm telling you, in my family, I do trust my daughter. That never happened.
I got Amy's comment. I just got to say, are you trying to send him to bed or give him nightmares? What the heck is going on over there? I'm kidding, Amy.
That was not nice, dog.
I mean,
well, that's one thing I've never been accused of.
Yeah.
Being nice.
All right.
Yes.
But go ahead. Who's next on that? Because that's the topic. I mean, but my point, it gets back to the scary part of open and honest conversation and what rules are you going to have? In my family, it was mentioned earlier, like we had access to my kids' phones, right? We could go in anytime we wanted to. We had the passwords, the Snapchat, we had all that. But because we had so much, remember, Lainey's getting 60 Snapchat, or Lainey's getting all these DMs or whatever. She couldn't keep up. And so she came to my mom, her mom one time, and it's like, can you just send a picture of the ceiling to these people? Or whatever. Because you don't want to be the one that doesn't respond to your friends or loses that streak, and then your friends are mad at you. It's a job. Social media is a job.
It is a job. Well,
Mhm.
it is a job. And here's the thing, like, it's not always a fun job because just like Laney said, Laney's burnt out. Like at 16, whatever, burnt out, so many DMs, so many texts, but do it as a part-time or a full-time job or whatever. And it's interaction all the time. And you got through, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, LinkedIn, like whatever. I was talking to some guy tonight at the nonprofit event I went to, and he's like, "Hey, so you're on social media. I saw your stuff, whatever." He's like, "Who helps you with that?" I'm like, "Nobody." He's like, "Freaking burn out." I'm like, "Yeah." Like I took a break for 6 months, and he's like, "I can see that." I'm like, "It's brutal." So a kid, and I think that's why when I said third grade, y'all were all like, "Oh," I was like that too. I'm like, "Ooh," like I was gonna say earlier, we got adults that can't handle some of the stuff that come across our phone.
Right.
So a 15, 16, 13, 12, 18, 19-year-old kid trying to handle that stuff too, when we're like, dang, what the heck would I do? Or I'm glad I didn't have this one. Or I'm glad I didn't have it. I'm glad I didn't have social media, phone, all that stuff. I'd probably still be in jail, or I don't know where. I don't even know where I would be.
Alejandro said try having 12 different kids. 12.
You ain't kidding.
Alejandro better pull up.
Right. I mean, we got Alejandro.
I told him we need to tie a knot in it.
That is 3 weeks. That's topic in 3 weeks.
Look, tie a knot in that thing.
That's number 4. We're getting close. We need 5 stars, and they're gonna rush in.
Wait a minute, what are we counting? What are we counting?
The FCC comes in and gets on podcast when you get to 5 stars. That means you get your limit.
Hey, don't worry. I'm already on their list. I've been on there for a while.
Eric, go ahead.
But I was gonna say that's a big, and it's a different conversation, obviously, sons, daughters, but it definitely is a conversation to have because it's like
It is.
I mean,
But should it be? But like that's the thing. Like, should it be a different?
It shouldn't be.
Yes,
but it is.
No.
But it. I mean,
I think it should.
No,
be,
actually, it's not a different conversation because it was with Braden. It was you don't want to be that guy, because I'm gonna tell you this was my conversation with him because I'm gonna tell you this: if it's my daughters and it's some other guy, you're gonna have me at your house, right? So you don't want some dad coming up in this house because I'm gonna be standing with that man going right at you. We're gonna be going at you. I'm on his side.
But let me push back just a little bit on that. Like, and so at 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 42, 52, we all want to be that guy, right? Like, so, like, I hear what you're saying, and I have girls.
Did you say we?
But
all
it's my
daughter.
daughter. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, we all want to be that guy, right? I mean, think about it. Like when you were 18 or 16, that's what you espoused to become, that guy. Right?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, maybe I live somewhere.
Sometimes I wake up and still won't be that guy. Sometimes I'm glad I'm not that guy.
Right?
Diva, I'm going to push back with you.
It's
Because
just kind of
I
crazy,
do think,
man. Like, I think maybe that's a topic we need to have too. The difference between raising boys and raising girls.
Yeah, that's a good
Because
topic to have.
I think we do our kids a disservice. Like, one, we want our girls to grow up, be all dainty, manly, and and we want our boys to be stud and carry that 10 and the high school prom. So like, what? And I don't know what the right answer is there either. But I just think we have to like be real careful. Like, it wasn't until I got good and grown where I learned the lesson where like, that's your wife, dude. Like, you know what I'm saying? You want someone talking to your wife, whether she 10, 15, and you didn't even know she was going to become your wife, but do you still want someone talking to her like that or treating her like that or trying to gas her head
That's
up
what
like
I'm saying.
And so it's just, it's difficult. And I think we do our young men a disservice. And yeah, for whatever.
But that's the conversations you have to have with the young men.
Right. But it's
Just
like
like
a dad,
you're
it's
saying.
that dad conversation. It's got to be like, there's the sound like, what you doing? where you at? Like talking to the son, like, where you doing? Where you? And then it's like the daughter's like, you're where? Like it's, but that's how, at least for that, like for me, it's like, okay, Hutz, you do your thing. It's like, hold on, B, you did what? And she's like, well, hold on, Hudson. I'm like, no. It's like, it shouldn't be. You're right. But
Yeah, but it is.
Maybe huh?
It is. I fully admit it is. I mean, the way I talk to my daughters and the way Braden and I have talked, but at the same time, when it comes to this topic,
Right.
I didn't play any games on this topic.
No,
Because you're not going to
this is-
disrespect
Right.
somebody, and you don't want to be that guy who is the one who gets caught disrespecting that young lady. You know,
Yep.
because like you said, Devo, that could be your wife, that could be whoever. You don't know. We're not doing that. But
Right.
unfortunately, this is again. That's why I love this. These are real topics. Good on you, Eric. Man, my kids are older. You just getting in there. You know, you just pushing in. That's why
Eric's
10
like-
years from now, I can't wait to
all
talk
good.
about this more. It's a
Yeah.
it's a tough topic. It's
Man,
a whole
I'm,
topic.
I'm having so much fun looking at the chat, man. I'm telling you, the chat's on fire.
Yeah.
The chat is on fire tonight.
I want to meet Alejandro for real.
I don't.
Like that.
I'm gonna tip my cap to him and keep it pushing.
Yeah.
Right.
No, so it's real simple for us. So you're talking about rules. Social media, I say gaming the same way because the kids are into gaming. It's real simple. It's like Monday through Friday, no games. Friday through Sunday, knock yourself out. So
Right.
it gives them something to look forward to. I think we would probably, lighten that up a little bit when they get a little older. But right now, they know they've got work to do, find other things to do, read books. It doesn't matter. But Friday, those boys know, man, it's like Best Buy. They come home and they like kick the shoes off, running upstairs and,
That's on.
because it's
Dad,
so-
you ain't even got to pick me up. I'm running home from school.
yeah, so they know Friday to Sunday, have at it. You play it to
All
your
right.
heart's content. But that's
So
that's it.
we got 15 minutes left, and we're going to take this topic because this goes back to Amy's topic here. How do you help your kid navigate when you see photos on social media of their friends at events that they are not invited to? Right. So I didn't think this is big. This is like a big one. So this is my school of hard knocks. Right. And what I'm talking about, the school of hard knocks is let's dive into this because FOMO is real.
Yeah.
Yep.
FOMO is the fear of missing out is real. And this is probably where, especially with Lainey, because she was immersed more in this social media world, Braden and Megan, a little bit older. But this is where what you see in social media is tough. And it can be very, very hard on your kids when they see their friends out there and their friends are doing something and they weren't invited. Right. And my friend, a long time ago, my friend said, social media is like, and he was this was back when Facebook was the main thing. He was like, it's, the Facebook fantasy world, And what he was talking about is that FOMO, the fear of missing out. Everything's perfect. Everybody's world is perfect. Everybody's they're going on all these trips, right? And everything's right, and it's not. So how do you help your kids navigate this FOMO when they're left out, when they're friends? But here's the deal,
Right.
And I'll say this, and then I'll turn it over to you, Doc. You can say it. But here's the deal: the hard part is, what about the next weekend when they're with another group of the friends? And that other young lady's sitting at home because she didn't get invited. You can't always be invited and be a part of everything. That doesn't matter. The psyche of it is still freaking hard when they're looking at this phone that they carry around everywhere and they see that they're not invited. That's one of the hardest things that you'll ever have to deal with a parent when your kid is down because they're not part of the group,
Yeah.
Doc, you got something? Did you?
Yeah,
I'll make you
I
forget.
don't know if it's right or if it's wrong, but I don't know what to tell them. So I just listen.
Mhm.
I just let them
That's a
talk
good
about
point.
their feelings
Good.
because I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I just don't know.
Well, I think you're right. And I think showing the right example, right? Well, I'm not always invited. We're not always invited to everything. We can't be invited to everything,
Right.
This is a hard topic with your kids because it's a reality of it because you have everything. Like back in the day when we were young, we didn't know. We didn't have any idea. That phone didn't ring and somebody says, hey, come on, man, let's go do this.
You want to talk to their parents, like, hey, Matt, can I speak to Braden, please? Mr. Curran,
Matt.
can I speak to Braden? No,
Yeah.
you ain't speaking to him. I can't come to the party.
But-
Yeah. Well, we couldn't get the call. It wasn't just like this. Like we're having a party, everybody coming over, like boom, let's go.
But you didn't know. You didn't know that. You didn't know.
But
that
you didn't
somebody was
know.
having- You weren't there.
until the following weekend, and then you're
Yeah.
like whatever. For the following week, I didn't
It
ever
was at
get
least 5
invited
to
to
7
stuff
days
anyway.
out for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Like
I'm
you
not
went to
gonna-
a party last Friday? Like what? Like how come I didn't get invited? They're like, oh well.
I'm not gonna act. I'm not gonna act like I don't care. But when I reflect on that, I know that some of my good friends from high school probably listening to the podcast. But I never got invited, never. And
Yeah.
it was the running joke. Everybody knew I was preacher's kid. Everybody knew that. There was one time I'll never forget. I laugh at it now, but I don't know, because I didn't go to the prom, couldn't go to the prom. But my senior year, my parents for some reason let me go to the prom breakfast. That was like 6 a.m. the next day, and I show up, and they were all in there, and hat laugh. And I mean, it was like a riotous laugh with me walking in the door. I literally walked.
Oh
Like,
man.
And as I walk it back, I'm like, why didn't I just stay home? I didn't go to the breakfast. But it was just this act of, I'm gonna go to that breakfast. I'm gonna show out at the breakfast. But there was a lot of laughter there. I laugh at it now like it never happened. But if I were to translate that in future terms with my kids, if they didn't get invited to something, I have to, almost like Doc, I gotta listen, see what that's like, talk to them and get that
Absolutely.
thing, because I'm so like shaped by my past that I just don't care. Like I'm so attached to the 5%, and it's like we made it.
Yeah.
We got people
But I'm the same way.
in the 95% that just became
Yeah. I mean, look.
interest in life.
Yeah. This
And
thing
that's-
could be empty. This thing could be empty right there, and I think it's full. That's just my attitude on everything. So I'm like you.
But
I
will
didn't get
say-
invited to stuff either. I'm with Eric.
Yeah.
That was the joke. Josh ain't coming.
Yeah, they knew it. But my sister too, rest in peace. She never got to go to, and that's why I say when she got to her college destination, she tried to do a little bit too much to kind of make up for lost time, so to speak. But I will say one thing that Aaron and I had talked to, we got an email, it's just subtle, just subtle. We got an email pop through. Middle school prep, such date, you meet the counselor and you start registering for classes. And she was where she was, I was where I was. We almost got the email at the same time, and then text each other like, wow, this thing is really happening. Like, this is crazy, And I just said, you know what? Let's take him out, just you and I, and just talk and just hear from him what that transition is going to feel like. Because everybody say, oh, you get to middle school, man, that's the craziest time. But it doesn't have to be. Doc, it's like you say, man, if you take them and listen to them, and really burrow into, hey, what are you thinking about this new transition, man? Like, or what are a couple of things you want to do that you don't do now? She just gave me a URL. Aaron gave me a URL. Said the 11 things that a 15-year-old needs to do by the time they turn 15. And I read that thing, and it's just part and parcel to this conversation. Yeah. It was like the top 11, and all these parents have put these things together and said, your kid needs to know how to do these by 11. And navigating social media and communication was 2 of the 11. And so I can't hold back so much or be restricted or whatever, but I want to be a better dad as we get ready to transition to middle school.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so
it's funny. Amy's watching this real quick, but I remember having these conversations last year with Amy when her son and daughter were transitioning to middle school and all that. So these things are real, These are real topics. Go ahead.
Well, I was say, and they're gonna use social media in school too. I mean, that's the thing. They're using all of these things, and maybe not the apps like we think of social media, but they're gonna have to navigate through the Chromebook and the app, and they're gonna have to figure out how to email and all that stuff. I mean, you're gonna have to teach them all that stuff. Like Hudson, I'm like, hey, what you need to talk to your teacher tomorrow? He's like, Dad, I'm just gonna email him, and he's like, and I'm like, huh? What the heck? You learn how to do that? He's like, well, isn't that what you do? Is email? I'm like, yeah, but who told you? Like, why just listen to and I'm like, he's like, so he'll read it out to me, and I'm like, don't say, hey, Mr. Curran, like Mr. Curran, like, hey, like,
hey,
hey, sounds a little disrespectful, whatever. I'm like,
hey, Principal Carson.
Hey, right, exactly. hey, Miss Parker. You know,
And I get your phone.
Yo, it's hot out
Miss
here.
Parker just don't know.
Oh God, that is funny.
But
Merry Christmas.
I know that's not the social media part of it, but it is part of them having to communicate not only with their friends and with us, but with, you know, teach. I don't deal much with Hudson's teachers. He's in high school. Like, he's like, I'll email him. I'll take care of it. You know, I don't want to step in and do that, especially at that age. Middle school, you still got to, they'll transition them over. 6th grade, you know, they're still doing their thing. Your dad's mom's still helping. And then 7th grade, by the time they're in 8th grade, it's like, go on.
Yeah.
So,
Devo, what'd you tell him about the FOMO?
I don't know. I was getting ready to go the other direction.
Trying to bring you back to the FOMO.
You caught me off. Yeah, the FOMO is real. I tell my kids, "Oh, your problem is you just ain't as cool as your dad. You need to get cool."
I say that all the
get
time.
I get the FOMO when I see you at all the games taking pictures. I'm like, why didn't he ask me to go to the
Right,
game?
he ain't
Right?
Hey, the Carolina game come on at 10 o'clock tonight, so we'll watch that one. And Virginia was losing by 2, but anyway, I digress. No, FOMO is for
Pittsburgh.
real. Like, and so the way that I would always try to spin it,
It's
because
wrong,
there's
Go
gonna
ahead.
come a situation where your kids aren't invited. So it's going to be something that you have to deal with. And so I used to always approach it from the point of, let's keep our circle small. Like, let's keep our circle small. Like, I try to tell them all the time, if a man has 3 best friends, he's lived more than or he's gotten more out of his life than what he deserves. Right. Like, cause you know, you look at your closest friends, your circle is probably small. And
Yep.
so I think there's something to be said for that, for true friendship. Again, I want to congratulate Amy. One thing that teaches, like in sales, is when you prospecting or when someone reaches out and communicates with you, you communicate back in the same fashion in which you received the message,
Yeah.
right? And so I see that Amy has done that with her daughter, and now has deepened their relationship. And so I agree. Like Josh said, everyone else has said, they're going to have to learn to navigate. But I can't tell you how vital it is, not only to be open to different conversations and shut your freaking mouth and listen to them instead of giving them your opinion or what you
Yeah.
did back in the day. But I also think is equally as vitally as important is to check. Like, our kids want boundaries. They do. They get tired, Matt. You said it
Yeah.
like 3 or 4
Yep.
times. They get tired and they can't handle this. Hell, I can't handle it. You know what I'm saying? But we have to muster up enough strength and enough energy where we're looking. We're seeing what they're being exposed to, or be like, hey, Billy said that. That was kind of a off-colored joke, or excuse me, maybe I shouldn't say that. Off-handed joke. And maybe that's not quite appropriate. And just talk to them like that. And take
We
it
in
as
the
a
nest.
teachable-
You can say that. We in the nest.
We good? All right.
As long as I can say it too. When I said it, I don't, you know.
My best friend wife.
You talking about your wife? You talking about your wife, right?
For sure. But no, we have to be there. And again, check yourself. Like, why are you getting your child this phone, this device? You know, is it so you can get an extra hour so that you ain't gotta sit and talk to your child? Like, because that's what I see. A lot
You
of
do
times
see it a lot.
parents
You do see it a lot.
give their child a phone so that it just be quiet and get out of my face. And so that's dangerous in and of itself. I was listening to Mel Robbins today, and she came up with this one principle that we should ask ourselves. It's the 80-year rule. Like, in 80 years from now, will it matter? And I think all of us would adamantly agree that our kids do matter. And are you going to ask yourself, if you only had a year left to spend with your child, would you take advantage of this conversation? Would you take advantage of these 5 minutes or these 30 minutes or this hour? And I think hands down, all of us would say yes. And so, like, put yourself in position where you can have meaningful dialogue with your child. It's critical. Like, they cannot handle
critical.
what the world is throwing at them. We can't handle. Like, look around us. Like, I'm still a little perplexed by J 20th, right? And so with that, like you have to sit down and you have to have someone where you can bounce ideas, share stories, where you can just unpack this thing because it's real and it's coming at you fast, like drinking out of a fire hose.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
say it's like drinking like from a fire hydrant. That's what I used to say, like in sales, like in the training, like it's like drinking from a fire hydrant. And these kids
Right.
have so much stuff thrown at them that we sit back and we see it differently because we've kind of been through some of that, or we're older, mature, and have gone through some of those things. We don't have a clue what they're going through. We could try.
We don't.
We have no idea. And I feel sorry for them, but we're not all as cracked up to be able to help them. But like you said, have the conversation, set the boundaries. They crave those. They crave boundaries. They may not like it. Look, preachers kid, Eric knows boundaries, bro. Boundaries. I didn't know a glass house could have so many boundaries. But we did. I could see outside. People could see in, but I couldn't get out there. I didn't even know where to walk. I was like a mime. Like I didn't even know how to get out there.
What you mean walk past the driveway? I can't do that, but I see y'all.
I can't go past the
driveway. I can't go past the driveway.
Exactly.
Gotta remember that.
And I never I'd never been arrested, never done drugs other than the legal ones announced some of the 50 states. But I never did it. I never arrested any of those things. But I don't say I hated it then. I needed it then. I just didn't like it then. Eric could probably attest to that too. Like I didn't like that I had a curfew till I was 20. I didn't like that when I came home, my dad at 5'8" could yank me by the back of the shirt up over top of my thing because I was late for curfew one night. Like I didn't like all that, but I look at it now and like Devo said, like trying to parent my kid the same way. And I failed at that too because I'm with Devo, like iron fist on some things and some things a little bit lax on and didn't always do the right thing. But it's like, man, I'm thankful for how I was raised and wish I would have learned some things on the dad end a little sooner than what I did. But yeah.
Hey, Matt, before you wrap it up, I'm just gonna holler at Alejandro, man. If you need that juvie policy, hook me up on LinkedIn. No.
The second.
No. Josh,
Alejandro,
you look.
stadium you in, bro?
You can get 6, and I can get 6, and we can do jump work. We can do jump work.
Hey, I want the boys because they're more expensive.
What you got, Doc? You got anything to say before I wrap it up?
Yeah, I'll give you my 2 if that's the case. You guys want more? You can have them. Free to a good home.
I don't want them. I just want them life policies.
That's right, man. Josh and I can hook you up. Alejandro, hook us up.
All right, look.
Hey, Matt, just real quick for you give your closing words. Also, parents, what I would suggest too is be real with your parents. With your kids. Let them know that you don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
But this is the reason why I'm putting this standard in place. Like, just don't be like, because I said so. You know what I'm saying? Be like, here's why we have to put our phones up at 9:00, or here's why it has to be in a communal place, and here's why I'm gonna go back and just search through your phone just to make sure that everything, like, explain all the reasons. It's out of protection. Like for my PK brothers in the room, your parents did what they thought was right, and that's all they knew. And like, so I've been leading from a stance of this is all I know, and I'm gonna try to lead the best way I can. But now that I've learned a little extra, I also try to explain the why behind it as well, because it goes a long, long way.
Well, Devo, you said it right. And the reason why I like this topic is because it is not an easy topic, right? And I'm glad I'm pretty much through it, with my kids. And that's why I like it, Eric, for you, because you still have to navigate it, right? And you got to navigate, Devo, and you two are navigating right now, Josh, with not necessarily your daughter, and you got your 2 kids. This is a tough topic, right? But take it head on. And you don't have all the right answers, and you're not going to make all the right decisions. But the open, honest communication is a must. That's the must. 100%. And talk about the good things about social media and the good things about phone, but also talk about the bad things and how they can reach out and grab you. I mean, it's even bigger. You get in, like with my kids, we talked about topics like, they're going to see your social media when you're trying to get a job. They're going to search your social media, right? So it goes from you know, being
Digital
responsible as a
footprint.
young kid. Yeah, they're going to be responsible as a young kid, but it's going to go all the way up into when you were an older kid and you're, you know, getting a job, or Megan being a doctor and all that. You know, just there's no right or wrong answer, but communicate, talk about it, and we'll talk about this again because it's such a great topic, and it's probably to me one of the hardest topics of parents that parents have to deal with today. So thank you all for watching. We'll do it again next Thursday. This has been wonderful, and we'll see
All
you.
love.
Peace. Let's go.
How's everybody?
Sleep easy.